Facebook says James Crenshaw lied about all of his titles.
Well, again, I will invoke some of the things I said about Maurice Carver. He may have fudged a little bit here and there. I think what's known about him and said about him is predominantly correct. I think he deserved a lot of credit. He had a lot of charisma. He was a bright man. He was a dog man that people like to follow. He was a natural leader. He was said to be an extraordinary conditioner, but I actually lived about 10 miles from him at one point in time. And every time I went over to see him and a dog was being worked, it was his wife that was out on a 10-mile walk with the dog.
Oh, yeah?
And even more power to him if he had that much influence over his wife that she'd walk his dogs, then I think my respect for him probably goes even higher.
Maybe that's the secret.
Maybe
so good luck to all you dog men trying to get your wife to walk your dog. That's why you can't win, because nobody can get their wife to do that.
I did once ask him what was the best dog that he was ever associated with, and this was before I got Chinaman, and he said that the best dogs that he ever saw were two dogs that were brothers to this dog that's out in California named Chinaman. That's exactly the way he said it. And he talked about how he had the last one. He used both of them, and one of them he had a contest in Alabama in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the heat, in the middle of the day, and it was in a cow pasture, so it was out in the open sun, and his dog got things done quick, and I think it was 20-something minutes, and he talked about the brother in the same capacity, indicated that he was just an extraordinarily destructive dog. He said, Tom, I think those were probably the two best dogs I was ever around. So you take that and do whatever you want to. I can't name those dogs. This was a conversation over the phone, and I heard it. I remember it. Now you hear it.
There it is.
But I think he was a person who should be recognized for what he was. He was a far above average dog man in terms of understanding breeding, conditioning. I think he's probably the one who first started doing the decks at the end of the keep trick. I think some people may have benefited from that. I think a lot of people have done more harm than good using that. It was like a 3-2-1. Last 3 days, 3 cc's of decks, 3 days out, and then two days out, and one day out. And, can only imagine how depleted some dogs would be by that. They'd be dehydrated. But if you manage those things, then you could probably induce a catabolic metabolism, which would provide energy, although it's energy from the decomposition of muscle, which is not long-term beneficial. But in the short term, it induces a fight or flight metabolic scenario that could be effective.
I think that's something that I wish more people understood. Not just people will hear the 3-2-1 method, but they don't know what it's actually doing.
Yeah.
They just know, oh, this is what we do. And if they knew actually what it was doing, they would know it might be different for individuals.
Some dogs are totally spun out.
Right, yeah.
Totally disoriented by dexamethasone. Anybody who wishes to give that a whirl, I'm not recommending it, but if anybody wishes to give it a try, I would advise try it before the critical time. Try it right in the middle of your preparation period, see what the consequences are,
right,
and then based on that, decide whether it makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense. Don't just do what some guy said to do.
So many people are looking for a recipe,
Right.
and to try to reduce the complexity of meeting all the biochemical needs of a performance animal with a recipe is it's silly, really.
Yeah.
It's like trying to have a recipe instead of a road map.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all right, so whenever I drove to Chicago, I went out and made I went 2 miles, made a right, went 7 miles, made a left. Okay, well that's the recipe. I happen to be going to Indianapolis this trip, but I've got the recipe for getting where you want to go. Okay, so you see how when you use that example, how silly it sounds, and it is equally silly in the preparation, the biochemical fitness preparation of a dog. You got to learn how to read the dog, read all the important variables, and make adjustments according to the feedback.
Yeah. Or you're driving to Chicago and there's a huge wreck.
Yeah.
And you don't know how to take a detour.
There you go.
You just keep on smashing through into cars.
Yeah.
Well, you might if you don't know exactly what's happening and you're just going by some direction somebody gave you.
Yeah.
But, all right. So Facebook says Don Mayfield was a dopehead, but we should believe everything he ever said about every dog in the world.
Well, whenever I first ran into Don Mayfield on videotape or being quoted, I was fresh out of a graduate school of education in psychology. I knew what a disordered thought process was, and it was pretty clear in my mind that that's what I was listening to whenever I'd hear him speak. Honestly, I've tried to back away from that a little bit and try to really understand, because the man had some success.
Yeah.
You can't just have a totally disordered thought process and be completely separated from reality and have good success. Those two things preclude each other.
It's the strangest compliment I ever heard.
So I think he just smoked a whole lot of dope.
Yeah.
And he got into this habit of speaking in such a manner as, and you string about 6 of those in such a manner as is together, and you don't have a damn clue where you started at, because you run into yourself. It's running this big tautological circle. I give him credit for having had some really good dogs, and for having had good success. All the old dog men knew they had a challenge on their hands if they went into him. But then on the other hand, he would brag. He would literally brag. If he went into somebody and then the next time he saw them, he'd say, "You know I rubbed you, right?" He'd look him right in the eye and tell him, "You know I rubbed you," because he was proud of having gotten by with it.
Just gotten over on somebody.
Yeah. It was.
How did he survive?
Well, I don't know, but he maybe he had so much smoke around him nobody could ever draw a bead on him. But I think in reality that gives you some insight into what the mindset was back in those days, and it was it was the wild, wild west. Do whatever you damn please, or whatever you can get by with, and if you get by with it, then on some level that makes you an even better dog man. I think the people that I get along with best, they honor the basic rules of fair play and respect, and they have value systems that are a little more traditional. But yeah, he occupied his own space, and again, let me reiterate, he had some good dogs, and he was often hard to beat.
All right. Next, Facebook says Red Boy is OFRN. Old Family Red Nose, for people that aren't silly and really into all of this bulldogging as much as we are.
You know, whenever you breed the Red Boy blood, you get about 3 different looks, and then you have Katie Marlowe. Am I getting her name right? It's been a while since I've said that name. You get her breeding back into some staff blood with Red Boy, with the original Red Boy dog. and you get these big, pretty, extraordinarily well-built dogs that suddenly pop up. I don't think it's predominantly that. I'm just making room for there to be just a little dab of it in there. I don't think it was the new face of the old family red-nosed line. Not only would I say no, I'd say hell no. Having talked to Howard Till way back in the 70s, and having asked him directly how the dog was bred, he told me that he was off of Till's tip. Howard Till had a 4-time winner when champions just didn't happen. If you won a match, you were famous, and champions are few and far between. Till's tip off of Cotton's Bullet and Sparks Haley's Comet, Brothers Sadsack. Sadsack went out to Ed Crenshaw and played a huge role in all those best Eli dogs like Art. Little shot of him back in the back there. Many of the best Eli dogs had a shot of Sadsack and Reno. Reno was off of Sadsack.
Mm.
Well, Tip was the better brother of Sadsack, and he stayed in Wadesboro, North Carolina. Howard Till owned a store and a restaurant there, and the bread man was the brand was Tip Top Bread, and he named Tip after that business, the delivery service. Brought him bread. But he told me that that Red Boy was off of his Tip dog, what he told me. And it was just later in his life, and you always got to make allowances. He was rumored to have had some health problems. I don't remember whether it was a stroke or a heart attack or what. He seemed lucid to me in that conversation, but he did, without a doubt, tell me that Red Boy was off of Till's tip, which is a 4-time winner, hell of a dog. Beat Komisinski. Komisinski had a great dog, and he beat that dog, and I think he beat Sadler. He beat great dogs. So I always hang on to that whenever I'm breeding the Red Boy dogs that I have. I think we may well have a connection back with Cotton's Bullet. I know back in the day, one of the sayings used to be, if you can't put Bullet and Bully Son together and get good dogs, you can't get good dogs. And even now, if we breed our Red Boy stuff with our El Drogo's blood, El Negro blood, we get some absolute killers. Bullet and Bully Son, baby.
There it is.
Yeah.
More of the formula.
Yeah.
This one was funny to me. I hadn't heard this. Facebook says Eli was part black lab.
I won't even dignify that with a comment. Just I will say that I know what a black lab looks and acts like.
Yeah.
And they're cool dogs, but they ain't Bully Sons. They ain't Eli's. I'll tell you that.
All right. Mayday is part Tosa.
I think the Mayday dog's a good-looking dog, and I could see where somebody's coming from with that. I have been to Japan and observed Tosas in Japan, and what they brought to the table was not impressive enough for one of them to be involved in Mayday.
Yeah. These are pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just
but there's a thread of logic that ties it together, and that is they have similar colors, similar proportion.
Eli dogs have flop ears. Sometimes they must be black labs.
Goats. Well, let's go for goats. Let's let the goat be greatest of all time. Huh?
There you go.
Yeah.
Mayday dogs are bigger on average. They must be some bigger dog.
There you go. Usually, or very often, these rumors are started by people with a very superficial level of understanding. Rookies, dumbasses. Let's get dumbasses. due credit.
Yeah, there's a lot of people been doing it a long time and still don't know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, you can make the same mistake for 45 years.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make it right. Still a mistake.
Yeah. Jocko is of unknown ancestry.
Well, are they refuting the pedigree? Are they saying that the widely accepted pedigree is untrue? I mean, for anybody to say it's unknown ancestry, first they have to promote the idea that the pedigree is not true. So I've never heard anybody really disparage the pedigree. So yeah, I would have to hear more before I could even address that.
All right. OFRN dogs are curs.
You know, in their day, I don't know that I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Certainly not seen one in action. But in their day, they impressed a lot of people. The people who to this day talk about the old family red-nosed dogs, they were believers. I would say that they had, at the very least, they had to be highly aggressive dogs. I imagine them to be super aggressive dogs that left no doubt about their intentions, at least in the beginning. And so you could easily end up with a following like they have, and it's old timers. It's a handful of old timers that are fanatically impressed with that bloodline, and nobody young has ever seen one. The main question for me is, if you were that damn great, why didn't you get propagated? Why didn't you continue? Why didn't you survive? You know, that's the way humanity works. We preserve things that are of value. The bloodlines that exist today because they've shown value from generation to generation. If the old family red-nosed bloodline essentially disappeared or became obscure, to me it means one thing, that they didn't get things done when they were supposed to.
All right. This is one I like a lot. Once a dog is in a conformation show, it is a cur. There's always arguments about, I have working dogs, I have show dogs, and because everything is binary these days, those two things have to be. So,
you know, it's that shows a simplicity of thought that makes you just want to turn around and walk away, because you know that you can explain this with the greatest eloquence and the most perfect words in the world, and they'll never grasp it. It's a basic understanding of logic and cause and effect. The same people will say that a dog is not game unless he's been taken to death. You know, gameness is a response potential. It means that you will persevere in the face of adversity. You have that capacity intact. You have that response potential intact before it's ever turned loose. It's not the act of turning it loose and demonstrating it that creates it. It's that act that proves it. But it existed. The response potential existed prior to the actual expression of the response potential.
Right. Yeah.
So you can't imagine how many people can listen to that and not grasp it. It's just basic logic 101. That capability was there. So the dog had gameness, possessed gameness prior to demonstrating it.
Right. It wasn't what you saw that said it was. It was already there to begin with.
It was there before it was demonstrated.
Right.
You couldn't say for sure that it was there, but after it was proven, you can at that point say, well, that capacity obviously pre-existed the demonstration.
Yeah. All right.
The same thing is with the confirmation show. whatever the dog is, if he's shown in the confirmation show, if he was a game dog before, afterwards he's a game dog with a ribbon.
Sure. Yeah, totally possible, right?
Yeah,
How is that not possible?
Yeah.
If you take a champion who is a proven champion and then you put him in a dog show,
Yeah.
and the judge says,
You're pretty.
"You're pretty.
Yeah.
You're both."
Yeah. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want both?
Yeah. And I mean that's just the coup de grace. If you can do both and accomplish on the highest level in all dimensions, that's where everybody wants to be.
I mean, it's form and function. How can you speak to form and function?
If the best looking dogs are not the best performing dogs, you should probably refine your understanding of beauty.
Yeah, for sure.
Form should follow function, and aesthetic appreciation should follow function.
Yeah. You have to know an unknown secret to condition a dog properly.
Yeah, that's exactly true, and I'm selling that secret for $500 a copy.
And there's half a dozen other people too.
Yeah.
And you ask them for proof, they just say, "Trust me."
Trust me. Yeah. Yeah.
If you pay me a little more, you can trust me even more.
There you go. No, in case anybody would misunderstand that what I just said was a joke. Anything that's truly a secret is not put into effect. It's not used. So that level of managing a dog, of conditioning a dog, has never been achieved. It's truly a secret. There are millions of secrets that once they're revealed and discovered, men will have the capacity to be better conditioners. So on that level, it's true. These are all undiscovered scientific truths that could better the handling of a biochemical machine, such as a dog, to enhance its performance. So we should all seek to discover greater training and nutritional truths for our dogs, whether it's discover it from the library or from the online. Just don't try to discover it from your typical dog forum, because God, there's so much ignorance in those places.
I've seen some stuff, yeah, and most of it seems well intentioned. It's like
the road to hell.
there's an old saying, "Good is the enemy of great."
Yeah.
So you have some success with something,
Yeah.
and so you think that's the key.
Yeah.
But there are so many other things that could be added. There are so many aspects of luck that could have been in your favor, and now you've decided that whatever happened in your one good time is the reason for everything you should move forward with. And anyway,
understanding reality is very much like working your way through a maze. There's so many paths that will get you within sight of the ultimate goal that will never get you there, and you have to back up and start over, go down another path, and then if you do enough paths, only you generally will find the path that will get you right to the core of the truth of the maze.
and you'll never look down another path if you believe in this one so much.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people get confused doing that.
Yeah.
And then they have 10 friends that are agreeing with them.
Yeah.
So
People need to be wary of feeling so good about themselves that and so sure of themselves that they can't learn. Every day that I learn something, I virtually get on my knees and thank God, because I've managed to get better at what I do. And if you don't learn anything, usually it means, over a long period of time, if you don't learn anything, it usually means that you're deceiving yourself.
all right, this will be a funny one for you. People who sell dogs don't sell good ones.
Well, let's take that over to hamburgers. Okay. So if you were running McDonald's and you wanted to keep all the good hamburgers for yourself, you'd end up with a great big old stack of good hamburgers rotting beside of you, and you only pass the shitty ones out the window. you'd end up with a pile of rotting hamburgers beside of you and a bunch of angry customers outside your window. That's not the way it works at McDonald's, and I don't really want to promote the idea that I have anything to do with McDonald's.
Sure.
But that's a basic fact of logic, and it's a reality of the business world. If you don't turn out a good product, you're not going to stay in business.
Sure.
And the only, I don't do a whole lot of advertising because I've always felt like that, and this is with any business that I own, because I feel like if I'm doing my job correctly in producing my product, everybody that buys something from me will work for me in the advertising department, because people will ask, "Where'd you get that son of a bitch at?"
Yeah.
I got it from the hill.
Yeah.
And that's a large part of my business is return business.
Yeah.
People don't come back to get another one if the first one they got wasn't good. So
You're gonna do it right.
people will people. I know we've not let in with anything here, but you just open the doorway and here it comes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not here to stop you from saying anything.
People will often, if they're trying to find a way to attack me, they will call me a puppy peddler. There'll be some fucking moron from the other side of the earth that I've never spoken with, who there'll be a thread about my daughter playing soccer, and they'll pop up there and call me a puppy peddler. Okay, what I really want to do is introduce their teeth to their digestive system, but that's not the way the world works. What I want to do is to explain to them that I do what I do because I have an objective in mind, and the extent to which I can do it on a large scale puts me in a position to achieve my objectives a lot quicker. If I do 3 lifetimes of work in one lifetime, I can accomplish 3 lifetimes of achievement in one lifetime. People don't understand the numbers game that breeding is. A significant part of the process of breeding the American Pit Bull Terrier is breeding within families, determining what the rules are for breeding within those families, honor those patterns that are proven to be productive for each family, but selecting the truly exceptional dogs. I call them dogs that are 4 standard deviations above the mean. That means they're in the top fraction of 1%. And acquire those dogs, sometimes you have to spend a lot of money. A lot of times your old lady gets mad as hell at you when you spend that amount of money, but by God, you can finish first or you can finish second. Infinity is the distance between first place and second place. Second place is for somebody else. It ain't for me. I have no comfort with the idea. And I do whatever it takes to go acquire those animals that are from my program, from my families of dogs, that are 4 standard deviations above the mean, and I work them back into the program. You've all seen me do it. You've all seen me do it for years. It's an obvious thing. I do it in front of everybody. But ultimately, that's the fact that we're sampling on a large scale. We're doing a lot of breedings. We are sparing no expense in acquiring the best dogs from our families. We buy them back. We work them back into the program, and these dogs get better by every generation when you just keep piling outstanding super dogs on top of super dogs, and you end up leaving the guy who's breeding in his backyard and having a religious experience. Well, I'm having a statistical experience while you're having a religious experience, and I'm bringing all these incredible animals back and contributing their genes back into the gene pool, and it's amazing the rate at which we're progressing. So the average moron who doesn't know anything about dog breeding will stand back and say, well, obviously he's doing this on a large scale because well, he's just greedy to make a lot of money. well, that ain't it. It doesn't have a damn thing to do with it. I have to sell enough dogs to buy 6 bags of dog food a day and pay my help, and beyond that, I have a lot of latitude. My dogs are not priced at a super high price. They're priced less than your average golden doodle in Craigslist, and they're world-class dogs with 45 years of hard work behind them. And I'm proud of what I've done, proud of what we do. By we, I mean me and my right-hand man, my yard manager Brad, and my right-hand man DeMel. We do this because we believe in it, and we do it at the scale that we do it because we're greedy. We want to be number one, and we want to be number one by such a distance that nobody can do anything but look and weep. So call me a puppy peddler, and then see where you end up in the race. I'll get off my soapbox.
Oh, that sounds like a good ending to that that line of questioning.
I don't know anything else I can say.
All right, so people who sell dogs won't sell you a good one, and people who give away dogs won't give a good one.
You know, that's kind of the opposite of the truth. Old timer once told me, and I don't quote a lot of old timers because most of them, most of them were idiots. And that basically I'm paving the way to excuse my own idiocy whenever I reach dementia, if I hadn't already. But there's an old timer once told me that the best dogs you ever own will be given to you, because there can be a time whenever you realize that you have a dog in your possession. There's only one like him, and there's only one. It's not a group of them, and you can sell one, give one away, or sell a few of them and keep one for yourself. There's only one, and money can't buy that. You save those for your really true friends in the world. You share those with your friends because it honors something that is, again, that totally transcends money. The very best dogs that you'll ever own will be given to you, and hopefully you'll honor that as you, if you find it necessary to distribute and part ways with a truly fine animal, an extraordinary animal, a one-of-a-kind animal, honor your friendship with it. Don't try to turn it into dollars and cents.
Julio is definitely my favorite.
Which one?
Julio.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's definitely my favorite. And you gave him to me. Oh, yeah.
I'm glad he's working out for you.
Everyone involved in APBT's lies, cheats, and steals. Facebook says. Yeah.
Well,
I got some more after this, like to really get into interesting stuff, but mostly we're just getting Tom Garner's reaction to Facebook bullshit.
Yeah. I think we've let a few into the club just by getting 2 out of the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to. What was it? You have to lie, steal, and cheat.
Yeah.
I know a couple of guys that only qualified on 2 of those.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, for the most part, I think that's true.
Everyone lies, cheats, and steals.
Or is willing to in order to finish it on top of this fucking pie.
All right. If the pedigree is pretty, it will quit. This is one of my favorite ones from people that don't have pretty pedigrees.
Yeah, well, that's exactly where that came from. People who have sour grapes over having scatterbred animals with meaningless pedigrees. You know, one out of 30 of those is going to have an ass-kicking dog.
Oh yeah.
The other 29 are going to be pissed.
Yeah. If you receive a handwritten ped, it's a much better dog.
You know, it's it makes for a better story, because there's usually some old dude who nurtured along his own line of dogs, and he may have checked all the boxes. And you know, sometimes there is some truth to that. It can be an old timer who had a personal relationship with every dog that he raised, but usually those old guys will have knocked in the head half the puppies that were born because they had white spots on their ears or some shit like that. There's usually enough ignorance to go along with that to make up for the magic, but not always. I could say that in my lifetime I've probably heard of a couple of guys that had dogs and nurtured them along like that and had no formal involvement with any registry, but they did meticulously keep up with the breedings on the dogs, and they really developed the dogs as well as you can, and there's no real way of doing it better than having a one-on-one relationship with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And if these old timers did that, and they brought out the best in an animal with a good personal relationship, and they applied their values evenly and fairly throughout the population of the family of dogs that they dealt with, yeah, it's possible for it to end up in a magic place. You know, they have a few that they take out along the way and have almost a religious experience with them, and that thing, doing that thing with a dog, it can be a virtually religious experience. You get to know the dog on a spiritual level, and you resonate energies with that dog, and you go through the trials and the tribulations together, and you become bonded on a level that most people can only imagine about. But on the other hand, if you're trying to do what I'm trying to do, which is improve the quality of a breed to make it a better example of what it's supposed to be. In other words, you take all aspects of the breed standard and you try to improve every one of them within the population that you have, and at the same time put them in better stead with society, because society is the greatest danger to the American Pit Bull Terrier. If you can make them where even a housewife can look in the eyes of one of these animals and see something looking back into their soul, that there's an empathy that's accomplished by these dogs that people can't deny. If you can enhance that quality to make people love them the way they love people back, then you've done a much greater good than having the self-indulgence of having had a spiritual experience with one dog. It's serving the breed as opposed to the individual.
All right, so we're done with Facebook.